This is Al-Barasa Mr. Jamali, and then I will cover the introduction. Let's start with India overview and economic landscape. India is the peninsula in Asia, bordered by the Himalayas, Arabian Sea and Bay Bengals. It is the world's 15th largest and fastest growing economy. Key innovatives include Make in India and Digital India Post, manufacturing and foreign investment. Challenges include environmental degradation, poverty, inequality and limited healthcare and education access. Okay, second, study objectives. Analyze India's development challenging their economic and historical roots and their impact on neighboring regions. Explore sustainable practice for progress, particularly in health, education, and environmental sustainability. 3. Broader implication. India's case demonstrates the complexity of modernization influenced by diverse social structure, colonial history, and ethnic diversity. Lessons from India's development can inform policies in other developing nations.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nur Shakira binti Zahari and I will explain about the identify and analyze the issue and problem in India. The first one is about the poverty and inequality, which is in India stem from social, economic and historical factor, which is the caste system and colonial legacy contribute to 1% of the population owning 40% of wealth, and limited quality healthcare and education keep many in poverty. So from here, comprehensive solution needed is which is community empowerment program, improve the access to healthcare and education. By looking and making the solution from his, we can addressing this issue and can foster a more inclusive society in India. The second one is access to education and healthcare, which is significant disparity in healthcare and education exists between urban and rural India. And the pandemic exposed the lack of reliable devices and internet access for many rural students, which is from investment needed, targeted and equitable access law are essential for underrepresented community. By looking for that, we can prioritizing healthcare and education can foster a more inclusive society in India. This one is about the environmental challenges. India faces significant deforestation, poor waste management, and extreme air and water pollution, which is approximately 70% of India's surface water is contaminated by untreated sewage and industrial waste. And by effective solution require policy promoting sustainable practices, improve infrastructure and community engagement. And the goal here is implementing this strategy can create a healthy environment for our residents.
Assalamualaikum, my name is Siti Munira binti Syamizam and I will discuss the two reasons that contributed to the issues and problems. The first one is the historical context and colonial legacy. First, let's talk about the resource exploitation. The British focused on extracting resources from India for their own benefits, neglecting the development of infrastructure that could have helped local communities. And this has led to the ongoing issues, particularly in rural areas where essential services are still lacking. Next is the poverty and inequality. Today, around 30% of Indian live below the poverty line, and this situation is a direct result of unresolved injustices from the colonial era, where economic policies created deep inequalities that continue to affect us. It serves as an important reminder of how past influences the present. And we also need to talk about the marginalized group, particularly scheduled tribe and scheduled castes. This community face significant challenges related to the poverty and social injustice, much of which can be traced back to colonial social structure that reinforce inequality. While the British did build some infrastructure, it was primarily designed to serve their interests, like railway for transporting resources, rather than for the benefits of the Indian people. This has contributed to ongoing underdevelopment and limited access to essential service today. And now, let's shift to post-independent India. Indian GDP growth has improved significantly from an average of just 3.5% during the 1950s to until 70s to around 7% 7 until 8% recently. However, there is a catch, which is job creation hasn't kept pace with this growth, leading to high youth unemployment rate. And this is a pressing issue we need to address. Another challenge we face is corruption in governance. Unfortunately, this has led to misallocation of resources and significant losses in public funds, which undermine effort to improve living standards for all citizens. Additionally, Indian budget deficit, which is projected to be between 9 and 10% of GDP, take money away from future development requirements. This is a major obstacle to enhancing public welfare and achieving sustainable goals. And it may surprise you to learn that more than 90% of Indian workers labor informally. This leads to governance and restrict worker protection, so sustaining socio-economic inequalities that require immediate action. So what do we need is comprehensive reform. We must address these systematic issues like corruption, fiscal management and labor rights to create a more equitable economy that benefits everyone. It is essential for sustainable development and improving living standards across the board. Now I will discuss how health issues impact local communities in India, focusing on socio-economic inequality, inadequate infrastructure and environmental risks. First, socio-economic inequality. Socio-economic status significantly affect health outcome, and then poorer individuals often experience worse health and shorter life expectancy, and creating a challenging cycle of disadvantages. Second, inadequate infrastructure. Many rural and underserved urban areas lack proper healthcare facilities, and these limited access lead to poor health outcome and widen the gap between different socioeconomic groups. Next is the high disease burden, which is community face a high disease burden from malnutrition, poor sanitation, and infectious diseases, particularly affecting low-income populations and spreading resources. And lastly is the environmental risk. Air and water pollution contribute to respiratory issues and other health problems, particularly in urban regions with a high population density. Next, I want to discuss the challenges facing educational attainment and employment for young people in India. They face high dropout rates and unequal access to quality education, especially in rural and low-income areas. Many children miss out on the education they need for a better future, and for the access barrier in rural regions, limited school access and inadequate facility lead to high dropout rates. Long travel distance make it hard for students to stay in school. Next is the discrimination issue, which is caste discriminations and social culture factor particularly affect girls' education, restricting opportunity for many talented individuals. Next is the urban-rural gap, which is the educational gap between urban and rural area is widening, limiting opportunities for young people in rural communities. Lastly is the employment challenges, which is poor educational quality of a result in youth into low-wage informal job with little security. Many graduates struggle to find suitable employment, and also skill mismatch, which is there is a significant mismatch between school curriculum and labor market.
Hello, my name is Monatika and I will proceed with the next slide, which is about the two alternatives to overcome the problem of poverty in India. The first one is through the reformation in education and health. Education equips individuals with the skills and knowledge, thereby increasing their employability and income potential, thus alleviating poverty in India. The World Conference on Education in 1990 and the foreign funding from the World Bank has increased India's efforts to provide education for all towards all their citizens. For example, Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan SSA aimed to provide universal access to primary education and improving school infrastructure in India, thus increasing the enrollment rates for the children. National Education Policy (NEP) aims to transform the educational system by promoting a more comprehensive and skills-oriented approach to learning by enhancing the teacher development and support. On the other hand, ensuring equitable access to healthcare services and infrastructure is essential and can help to break the cycle of poverty in India, as the poor health can limit educational attainment and employment opportunities. For example, National Rural Health Mission seeks to provide equitable, affordable, and quality healthcare to the rural population, especially for the underprivileged people. A midday meal scheme guarantees impoverished students free lunches at the schools and has boosted school attendance in the underprivileged region. Community development programs through a collaborative efforts between the government and non-government organizations can serve as an effective alternative to reduce poverty in India by fostering sustainable livelihoods, empowering marginalized communities, and enhancing the local infrastructure. Community development projects were set up to improve housing, healthcare, education, agriculture, water supply, and sanitation, and to help those people escape poverty and live a decent lives. For example, the National Rural Livelihood Mission uses skill development initiatives and self-help groups to empower women and the poor people in rural area. Meanwhile, the National Urban Livelihoods Mission seeks to improve living circumstances and livelihood prospects for the impoverished in urban areas. Next, let's move on to the alternative based on development theories. We choose the basic need theory for the case of India. The basic needs theory focuses on meeting fundamental human needs, including food, shelter, healthcare, education, and sanitation, so that people can attain a minimal level of living, which is a crucial tactic for eliminating poverty in India. The basic needs approach acknowledges that the impoverished will remain outside the economic process for all practical purposes and will not contribute for benefit from the economic growth as long as they are denied the necessities for an economically productive life. The quality of life for the underprivileged communities can be considerably improved when the NGOs and government initiatives concentrate on these issues. Therefore, the theory highlights that addressing everyone's basic needs, especially for those the poor, should be the top priority for the development.
Now I will explain about the analyze how this alternative would contribute to sustainable development, which is in the concept of long-term economic growth. The first one is community development, which is sustainable development in India is driven by community initiative and health policy reform. And skill gap, also the program close the labor market skill gap, creating job and reducing informal employment, and environmental sustainability, which is sustainable land use and renewable energy initiatives are essential for combating pollution and resource depletion. And the last one, which is long-term vision, proposed alternative address current challenges while laying the groundwork for sustainable growth for future generation. Thank you, and that's all from me.
And here we come to the end of our presentation. In conclusion, I will call it India's sustainable development journey. India faces challenges in sustainable development, including poverty, inequality, limited healthcare access, and environmental degradation. To address these issues, policy reforms, investment in youth development, and environmental concern are needed. Frameworks like the basic need approach and sustainable development theory help balance economic growth with social equity. India's youthful population offers opportunities for innovation and inclusive growth. Collaboration among government, private sectors, and NGOs is critical. Indeed, India's success can set it as a global leader in sustainable development. That's all from us, and thank you so much.